The spacecraft came out of the womb of the rocket, and I felt always like that. The mother takes it to the space, it delivers it there for a greater journey beyond that point. I think that symbolizes the roles of a parent and the journey of a child.
We always say working woman and homemaker, all those words I don't even believe now, because I'll tell you my role changed. I moved on sabbatical completely. Meera was full-time on a corporate job and travel in US at different states. I was completely a homemaker, taking care of children, giving them food, giving them a small baby. Sometimes it requires a bath. I used to do that. And I realized that an insight that a man also can do it. It's a society what actually made him to be away from that.
The kind of help parents can give requires mindfulness in the sense of being attentive to the child, understanding the child, and being responsive to the child's needs, because ultimately the child's happiness should be all that matters to us as parents.
One of the fundamental reasons I'm what I am today is because when I was a 13-year-old, they looked at me as a 13-year-old, and while I'm a 21-year-old, they still look at me as a 21-year-old. So I think it's about renewing perceptions, as our beloved Matra would always say, that the way you renew perceptions towards your child, like that means a lot to the child, and it builds the bond very, very strong.
Parenting does not mean just guiding the children on the general values, but they must instill in them the bhakti or the dedication to our land, to our Madhrubhumi, our precious Bharat. And I hope that they will be able to do that.
The journey has been beautiful, because raising a child is like offering a prayer by the couple as a teamwork.
Welcome.
Jai Dharima. Jai Dharima. I greet all of you very warmly. I welcome our audience. We have joined together again for another session of Mindful Parenting. I welcome Anupji, Ajay sir, Mami, Nirik, Patricia, Rahulji, very welcome. We're together in this. पहले कहते थे कि पहले के समय में कि बच्चे को बाद में सिखा देंगे, अभी बच्चा है। और अभी कहते हैं कि सब कुछ अभी सिखा दो तभी बात संभलेगा। We have to find that balance, the correct balance. What to tell them when and how much to teach them and navigate. So let's try finding that balance today. जी, मम्मी, आप आएंगे?
We have very, very accomplished chief guest, very, very accomplished guests, parent guests. Thank you, Ajay, for introducing your friends or accomplished friends in Abu Dhabi. So grateful to you, Ajay, because you.
Thank you.
And of course, you're very great. And Anup, we've had an opportunity to meet. Anup and I share a very lovely incident on my recent visit to Abu Dhabi, thanks to you, Ajay. So it's an honor, and I'm sure Rahul from Lithology will benefit because you deal with parents and children all the time. So Rahul, I, and Ajay, of course, as an author, but we're here to listen to you because this program is very special and unique. It's for sharing all the good happenings which you made, accomplished parents yourself, both Lyric and Patricia. Ajay was telling me you got two grown-up children and who are continuing to do great academics overseas. And Anup, you are into a very rare organization called, for the first time I'm hearing something called Abu Dhabi Early Childhood Authority. I'd never come across something like this, Early Childhood Authority. So if I have permission of Saina, can I ask you to tell us a little more about your work and your authority? Ajay, is it okay if we ask Anup exactly this to begin with? Would you like to say
Yes.
a few words on Anup before? Ajay?
Yeah, actually, it's truly an honor to have Anup Nambudiri with us today, ma'am, as our chief guest. Anup is not only a computational social data science expert, but also the data insights lead at Abu Dhabi Early Childhood Authority, which he will explain in detail as per ma'am's custom. He's the visionary behind the groundbreaking Abu Dhabi Child Insights System program, which earned accolades as the most innovative government project of the year in March 2022, among hundreds of other projects. More than a parent, we are eager to listen to you, Anup, today as you shed light on how the right parenting support during the early years can significantly impact the lives and trajectory of children. A warm welcome, Anup. And I have also one question. As a part of this incredible parent-friendly label initiative, which you mentioned to be by Abu Dhabi government, could you share how this program aligns with the principles of creating a nurturing environment for children and supporting parents in their journey? Over to you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Bedi and Ajay. I think let me start off by saying it is an absolute honor, Dr. Bedi, Ajay, and all of you to be here. Let me take Dr. Bedi's question. What is Abu Dhabi Early Childhood Authority? I have been working with the government of the UAE prior to my stint at Early Childhood Authority for about 10 years. I've worked in the data space from national security to civilian projects. About 5 years back, I was introduced to a project within the Crown Prince Court where, without getting specifics, someone very high up in the leadership called up and said, we need to focus on young children. I was very curious. And when they started elaborating, the vision was by somebody in the leadership who said that if we need to make quantum leaps in social progress, we need to invest in the youngest of children. And the point was that it is a sort of diminishing returns. If you invest, and there is science, economic Nobel Prize winning science theory by Professor James Heckman, which says that if you invest $1 into a child between 0 to 5, the return on investment to society is close to $17. You invest $1 into retraining someone between 18 to 21, the return on investment is $2. So it's a sort of graph that goes down. So the earlier you invest and get the foundations right, your return on investment to society is also very high. It could be in the form of better health indicators, better education, better support. the foundations getting right. I found it quite fascinating. I had been working with the data for a long time, but I had never come across this particular space. And over the last 5 years, I've learned and sort of tried to learn a little bit about this space as well through the data. And why, while Abu Dhabi is one of the pioneers in this space, because this is a country that's thinking post-oil. This is a country that's thinking what's in the future. And it's the human capital that is the future. And there are progressive countries like the Nordics, in Australia, in New Zealand, which have set up early childhood. So Abu Dhabi Early Childhood Authority's mandate is children from prenatal stage to the age of 8. So across health and nutrition, family support, early education, and child protection, it's a comprehensive support to make sure all children, irrespective of citizens or residents, get the right foundations so that you can build on it and we can have a strong, progressive society and sort of quantum leaps in social progress. That's the vision. What do I do here? I think there was a lot of text over there. Let me try and simplify it. And like I was saying earlier, so when I came in, somebody from the leadership said, Anup, if there is a sector within the government where everyone will have an opinion, that is on how to raise children. And that is why it's very important to bring in empirical evidence and data to the table when we try and drive new programs, new policies, new investments into young children. We want empirical evidence. And we've been very fortunate to have a lot of support from the leadership to collect a lot of cross-sectoral data and sort of drive insights. Before I answer Ajay's question, I want to take a minute into connecting it with also mindful parenting, because that's what got me fascinated. Because when I heard mindful parenting, it was also connected to some of the research that we were doing. Let me give you 2 examples. Example number 1 was we worked on, and I won't get it for making sure that I don't divulge information. Let me try and explain. We were working on trying to understand what were the challenges, who were the children who were struggling in the education system. So among the overall baseline, we found X percentage of children were struggling in the education system. When we started digging deeper and developing predictive models, we found something that stood out. Children from families that experienced divorce were 4x or 5x time more struggling in the education system. And we started thinking, is it because of divorce? No. And then the science kicks in. And let me explain the science and connect it to mindful parenting. Built into our biology is the need for young children to have responsive interaction with adults. Neglect of children is one of the big drivers. What does that mean? Children require this sort of, in tennis analogy, this sort of serve and return with a parent or a caregiver. So this serve and return reaction is there in clinical psychology has been studied. This serve and return reaction, and children from families experiencing divorce were at higher likelihood to be neglected, and in the early years not have this serve and return reaction. What is the serve and return reaction? Eventually, it is parenting, right? As a parent, you are mindful of a child being present there. You are, and now let me connect it to the neuroscience part of it. In early years, imagine the human brain of a child, like you have these little, like a night sky with these neurons as these little stars. When you have this serve and return reaction, these neurons, they end up building connections. And the more you have the serve and return or this sort of mindful parenting, these serve and return reactions lead to stronger pathways. And you have billions of neurons that are firing up every millisecond when you have this serve and return. And by the time you are 7 or 8, the human brain biology changes a little differently. The pathways are already built. Now what happens is that is the first phase where the adult brain is slowly starting to emerge. So if as a child, you at the child phase neglect, what happens is there are certain pathways that will never develop. I was, second story, I was very fortunate to hear to attend a session about a couple of years back at Columbia by a professor called Professor Kimberly Noble. She is a neuroscientist and she worked on something very interesting. She took so she's a neuroscientist, so they took brain imaging data of 1,000 children. Okay, so they collected brain data of young children, and they, slices of that data were collected again and again and again. Something very interesting started to emerge. They found that children from low socioeconomic status families had a certain difference in their brain architecture in comparison to other kids. Now, that does not mean that being born low socioeconomic status does not make your brain different. This was taken 2-3 years later when the child is 3-year-old. What happened over there? What was the difference? The difference was there is this part of your brain called the cerebral cortex. That's this sort of, this wrinkly layer that is there in your brain. That's the cerebral cortex. The larger the surface area of that cerebral cortex, the more intelligence you have. That's the simple thing, right? In young children, the area of the cerebral cortex, which is this part, which is related to language skills, vocabulary, self-control, ability to sort of avoid distractions, were much more diminished in children from low socioeconomic status. The causal factor is not that they were born low socioeconomic status, because the parent is too busy with financial distress. The parent is challenged with other things. The serve and return does not happen with the child. The child experiences either, so it's a spectrum. The child experiences either occasional neglect or chronic understimulation. What that leads to is the biology of the brain is changed. And that leads to less development. Now, if those children have their own socioeconomic challenges and all of this put together, this gap will continue to expand, because by the time you're 8, your adult human brain is slowly starting to emerge. So, and that gap can be, so there is this topic of mindful parenting, but I want to also say, and I don't want, so because we work with children from families that experience divorce, I want to also say that all it requires is one caring adult. That could be the parent, that could be a caregiver, that could be a school teacher, but if that child, it could be a nanny. If that child experiences that serve and return of, a sort of pseudo mindful parenting from some other source, your brain architecture is fired up. So that got me. And when I met Ajay and when I saw his book, I was by coincidence working on this data analysis. And I was just able to see those parallels that while you speak about parenting, you have to, and this is what I told Ajay, that I'd be happy to speak, because you have to understand the underlying science. Parenting is about that serve and return. The serve and return is about the neurological pathways that a child's brain builds. And it's that opportunity in those early years to make a difference that will make a huge impact in the trajectory that child will pass through in the later years. So hopefully I've addressed a couple of things, but I want to pause here. I know, Ajay, I haven't answered your question, but Dr. Bedi, hopefully that helps you get a perspective of what we do in Abu Dhabi with the government.
Fantastic. In fact, in India, we have the very strong Anganwadi system. Anganwadi system. In that Anganwadi system, the focus is more on the food. Focus is more on the food, and wherever the Anganwadi worker in India, and this is a very strong national program, and a lot of millions are being invested into right kind of nutrition for the child. That's at the moment. But to what extent is the Anganwadi worker interacting with the child when the child is in the playway school? That's called the Anganwadi. Is basically it's a playway school. I think it varies from center to center. You set me thinking, Anup, how important what you said goes into making these as very integral part of Anganwadi training, where the Anganwadi worker knows how to serve and play, serve and interact. I am not sure because I've experienced it all myself, the way the Anganwadis are. So what you said, I think is a great. Let's have a little small paper from you, Anup, a little, maybe two pages, and we could then circulate it. We could circulate it within this country, Anup. I think, Ajay, let's do this as a contribution from this, or maybe comes from lithology.
Yeah.
This 2-page note, which I would love to share it. This is what has emerged from this program today. Very
Sure.
well said. It's a servant volley, because most of the crimes against women today, crimes against girls, let's say, by the young boys, is happening from the, unfortunately, regretfully, in the lower income groups, where there is no servant volley interaction at all between the parents. And he's very right. The parent is struggling for keeping the home cooking going on, and the mother too is a laborer, or the mother too is a coolie, etc. Or the father is gone into problems of other habits of abuse, and the mother is struggling to keep the fire. I think it's a very important point. India has a system of Anganwadi, but to what extent every Anganwadi teacher is focusing on the servant volley concept is, I think, that needs to be understood. So, Anup, Ajay, back to you. I think it's a fantastic analysis of why is this boy who, when he becomes 18, 19, attacks another neighborhood girl and even commits the most heinous crimes. And I think it makes sense. It truly makes sense, because they've not developed. They've actually not interacted. They've not networked. Their neurons have not become healthy. And that portion of the cortex is lying flat properly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Also, Anup, I think our audience would like to hear about parent-friendly labor that you mentioned to be.
Thank you. And that also, to Dr. Bedi's question, Dr. Bedi, I would also look at the Anganwadi system. To be honest, I haven't done my research on that, but I will definitely look at it as well. I'm happy to support you in any way that you require in terms of knowledge sharing from our side. With regards to parent-friendly labor, let me again bring it back to this servant return. Now, how can a government trigger mindful parenting at scale in a country? Parents need time. So what do parents do? Parents are working. Or maybe, you have one parent working, you have both parents working. So in Abu Dhabi, so this started so we said you can get accreditations of various forms, but imagine if organizations are given a parent-friendly label for their progressive HR policies that support parenting. Better parenting, you have more time, better maternity leave, having a nursery in large organizations, having a nursery within, having progressive leave policies where parents can take time, having a child with a developmental challenge, getting additional support as an employee. Now, there's a whole list. So we started working so there are multiple things that we're doing. PFL is one of them, is for organizations to come forward and get themselves rated. Historically, organizations would get rated on an ISO. Historically, organizations would get rated that I'm the best place to work. But here is a label that you get saying that you are, and the government is acknowledging your progressive efforts in making the place, having that organization be parent friendly. And on top of that, what is the impact on that? You get more time as a parent with your child. What happens by spending more time with a child? If through another source we give you best practices on parenting, you spend more time interacting more. That same, going back to that servant return or mindful parenting, you get more time being aware as a parent and spending more time with the child. What's the benefit of that? The benefit of that is on the child. What's the benefit of the child? Why is the government interested in it? There is such a huge body of research that's out there that says that the return on children benefiting from early programs. You make an investment, it says that the likelihood of a child completing a high school increases by 30%. The likelihood of reduction in obesity levels, reduction in chronic diseases, reduction in drug and alcohol problems decreases. So there's a lot of research that's out there, but it all boils down to better parenting. And as a government, Abu Dhabi has taken this. So last year, the parent-friendly label program was restricted to Abu Dhabi as a emirate being a state in local terms. This year, the parent-friendly label is a UAE-wide program. So, and the government mandated, saying that no, this has to be UAE-wide. So organizations across UAE participate in this. They go through an accreditation process. There's a separate team that evaluates them very empirically and qualitatively to find out whether they have better policies supporting parenting, and if so, they rank them into different standards, and they get to keep a sort of stamp of approval from the government saying that. So what does that happen? That helps organizations attract more people. So for the organization, it's a win-win for everyone. The organization suddenly gets recognized as a good parent-friendly label. Hey, why don't I join there? It has better policies. What's the benefit for the government? The government makes sure. What's the benefit? The ultimate beneficiary is the child. And I think as ECA and as the UAE government, we've always been thinking on what's the impact, and not because we want to do something because it's theoretically right, because it's making a difference. We know that eventually it's making a difference in the life of that child on the street who is getting a better opportunity to make a difference to society and back to the country, which is UAE. So yeah, so that's PFL in a nutshell. But the PFL is just one of the examples. There are multiple examples. You can go through the ECA website where there's a program that works with children from certain demographics which are challenged significantly in comparison to the others, in terms of that could be parents with a single parent families, that could be. So there are multiple programs that are happening. So we're stitching that together to build an ecosystem that is supportive for a child, because we know that that's the future. And if we get it right now, a decade from now, this country will be remarkably different. And to achieve that kind of effort, you need that concentrated effort to focus on the children of today, so that in a decade from now, this could be as progressive. And this is how if you want to become like a South Korea, you want to become like a Singapore or something overnight, or we don't want to do it in 30 years. Organically, we want to do it through effort in a decade. So that's the efforts that are happening here.
Thank you.
Ji, thank you.
You're welcome.
We've interacted with you, but a question which we'll ask you later. We are requesting Lyric and Patricia to share their parenting journey with us, and then we'll open for question answer.
Thank you very much. See, we see a lot of and hear a lot of conversations on childhood, here on teenage life, here on married life. We also speak to the elderly on retired life. We have heard from our friends, children's friends coming home of a good father or a good mother or a great mother or a great mom and dad. And we seldomly hear about, parents as a whole. So, and this has happened with our children, maybe going to the friend's place or when they socialize together. I take this opportunity to thank Ajay and his team for creating this platform, for really bringing in experts, children's parents together, sharing ideas, sharing opinions, and allowing us also and inviting us to really speak on these things. Patricia and me are parents to two children. We have elder daughter Chanel, who's studied here in DPS, and She's graduated in UK, and now she's doing a PhD in fragile and agility for Coast Poet population. And our son has done his higher school education in Dubai itself, and he's a trainee today in IT services company, and he's completed his diploma in audio engineering. So we would like to share our experience as parents, because both our children are really has different characteristics, different behavioral, and I would like Patricia to really speak about the experience what we had maybe from childhood and how we have brought our children up together. So,
yeah, so both our kids, they are totally the opposite, because Chanel has always been an independent child and always did everything on our own, whereas my son Joshua, he had a language difficulty problem, like speech problem. So it was diagnosed at the age of 4, and we were just wondering why he wasn't speaking. He was saying words but couldn't put 2 words or 3 words together to make a sentence. So there was an issue there, and we had a lot of challenges there, since we both were working. And actually, I was blessed to have a good boss when I was working, and he understood my problem. So I was able to, allocate a little bit of my time during the office hours, like leave early and go to speech therapy. And I was able to do that because of my kind boss, who understood our problem. And after that, it was just spending time with Joshua. I didn't really spend time with Chanel because she was pretty independent, but because of her independent behavior, we were able to focus on our son, who had an issue. And he is also antisocial. He was antisocial, but he's overcome a lot of his problems right now, because he's 23 now, and he does a lot of things we didn't imagine him to be doing. So we were really happy, and we were able to give him the time, at least after work hours. It is kind of difficult since both are working, but I did spend a lot of time with him after office hours, coming back, and then spending time doing a little bit of conversation, and also with his studying a little bit. Yeah, so that's the thing.
So in the Middle East, I mean, when we come as a young couple, so when we have children, careers has always taken a priority. But when we have children, I think the priority keeps changing, and especially when you have challenges with specific for sibling, to manage the time between home and office is a challenging. And I think we put a plan together where we planned schedules, planned his private training, planned his speech therapy classes, planned the programs for our children. One was the 2 different complete personalities. One complete independent, didn't need any hand holding at all, whereas the opposite was, had attention day after day, time after time, minute by minute. So I think it was a challenging time for us. Though
And
we have passed a lot.
we did it
yes.
as a team, actually. So whatever we did it together. So that was really kind of a blessing for us. Like, we were able to do it together. So
and this is what it is. And today things are changed, and we are in better positions, and he is socialized more, and that's why we thought we'll come and we will speak. And Ajay had invited us to give our experience on our parenthood, especially with our children.
How did the siblings work? How old is the daughter? What's the age gap?
it's 4 years gap. Right
Wow,
now,
that's a good gap. How did she respond to the younger brother?
she was mostly actually on her own, and she would spend time with him, but I thought that it was not too much, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
So
response was not coming back. So if you say, when you want some response from your younger brother or sister, I think that was not coming back. So it was on us to take the responsibility to bringing it together. Yeah. So she was on her own, independent. She didn't want anybody's help, nor ours or anybody. Whereas he has fully depended on it. So the whole attention was centered on our son itself.
And she was understanding to know that that because he has an issue, probably mom and dad are giving him more importance or giving him more attention than, and we could focus on him better.
With Patricia,
yeah,
Lyric, how important is it? Two questions. To be emotionally available for your children. You know, time and physical presence is one aspect, but being emotionally available for your child, how important is that? And the other is, how important is it to help our children build a life that feels good inside, not just looks good outside? How important is that? Because they are going to grow up, they are going to be adults, they have to live a very real life. It has to feel good within, not just look good outside.
Yeah.
How important?
This could be a question both for Anup and the family.
It is.
I think. Yeah, it's a good question for both, because one is a researcher, Anup is a researcher and an academic, and here are parents with us. Let's have a response from both of them.
So you like it? Start.
Emotionally, to be there for our child is really, really important, so that we understand their behavior and their kind of need that they want their parents to be, like a little bit of a touch or a little bit of a hug, and that kind of a thing is really important for the child.
Very true. I mean, we have spent a lot of time with our son, and really gave him really physical, love. The hug, when we used to give it to him, it was really made a very big difference to him. So that emotional attachment was very, very important for him and for our children. So I think it's very, very high, because it really helps them to feel our love, shared through them, through physical, both emotional to them directly.
Yeah.
Anu, would you like to comment?
Building a life that feels good inside, not just looks good outside.
There's, there is such a huge body of research that's available that says that when you're an infant or a young child, or when the adult responds appropriately with sort of eye contact, words, a hug, the neural connections that are built and strengthened in the brain are, the science is today just out there and in your face. It all goes back to parenting, yes, but and I want to stress on the fact that it could be a parent, it could be a caregiver, but that attention, when you say emotionally, I would believe that it is about being attentive to and in the moment with the child, and that the trigger for the neural pathways is just so strong. 10-15 years back, probably the science was not there, but we just knew it intuitively, and a lot of parents knew it, that this is how it should be. Probably we were less distracted in a digital world, and it was not as a digital world, but all the more important in a digital world to be emotionally connected with the child, because today the science is there. Those neural pathways you cannot ignore. Those are the foundations. So I think it's a very valid question, and thank you for bringing that up. I would just agree it from a science point of view as well.
Saina, can I ask a little more? Can I? Saina?
Please. G.
Since you got a body of knowledge, Anu, is it bringing in is it reaction, or is it a preventive programs also for people going into a marriage? It's like before you becoming a parent, you're aware of the science, this body of knowledge. Is the UAE government or your government thinking of pre-marriage training programs, awareness programs, so that it's not a reaction but a proaction?
I'm not speaking on behalf of the government, so let's be conscious of that. There's not a government position that I'm saying, but I think you must understand ECA's responsibility is from prenatal stage. How far back do you want to push it? There are countries in the Nordics actually that are pushing it even beyond the prenatal stage. You see, a child who is born right now, let's say time zero, the child that is born is an output of 9 months of being in a mother's womb. So there is a lot of impact on what the mother is going through as well at that particular point of time. But do you want to take it far beyond as training from marriage counseling onwards? That's probably that's beyond my scope of work. But there is definitely merit in pushing. There is definitely proven science that says that it's not after a child is born that you can make differences. The child's brain is developing for those 9 months as well in that mother's womb. There are so many things that you can do, and we found it. So, there are globally with UNICEF, which we were working recently, topics like a child being born low birth weight, topics like a child being born with a lot of challenges at the neonatal stage can be traced back to the 9 months. So to the minus 9 months. So if you get the minus 9 months right, you make a certain difference. Can you push it even further beyond? Before you conceive, can you make certain changes? So there is definitely merit always in going upstream rather than trying to solve a problem downstream, 17, 18 years down the line with that child. You want to push the whole topic as upstream as possible because that has the better return on investment to society and return on investment to the child itself. So hopefully that answers what you were saying, Dr. Bedi.
Fantastic. I believe Singapore was going through a program of premarital counseling. What marriage means, what relationships means. It's like preparing. Singapore, I was here reading a while ago, and I don't know whether they continue to practice this, is a premarital counseling for the couple to know what is marriage, what is relationships, and then what is ahead for them. Is that continuing? I do not know. I do not know if you're coming across any such research. But what you're doing is something what every country needs to do. Every family needs to do. Any parent preparing to get married and choosing to be a parent. Parenting is also a choice. But what is the result of that choice? What impact it has of that choice? I don't know. I was wondering, is it leading to government policies? Your studies, is it leading to government policies or corporate policies?
Not necessarily corporate policies, but the whole purpose of the existence of the data unit, which collects a lot of data, is to identify macro level insights which will drive public policy or support public policy. It is never academic. So all the work that we're doing is applied research or applied data science, which will lead to, and the government is very aware of that I don't want to come up with a policy just because somebody said that or some minister wants to do it. It's because there is evidence that's showing that this has an impact on this. What can we do to solve it? And again, there could be, imagine 1 million children. Do we need a policy overarching that addresses 1 million children? Or do we need a policy that addresses the sub-demographic of 7,523 children? It's just a matter of efficiencies. Why should I waste something at a global scale when the data science exists to be able to identify those children who specifically need support? So it's, we're taking practices from the private sector and applying it into a new way of government functioning, which is just more agile. And, it is all thanks to the leadership of this nation, which is so supportive of this approach of, making a difference in the lives of young children, honestly. Yeah.
So Dr. Kiran, I think your question was, at our community level, at local level, we have something called the marriage preparation course, where any couple who intends to marry, they undergo a course, and without that course, it's not they're not allowed to get married. So that covers
in UAE.
in the church, actually, in a community, Christian
Yeah.
community.
So in the community, right?
Yeah, interesting. So it's a mandatory, and it happens at local level, and it's mandatory you to complete this course, this marriage preparation course. Without this course, without the certificate, you are not allowed to marry in church. So that covers relationship, love, parenting. So it covers all the aspects. And we did this course a long time ago, but I think it has evolved now, and it is really having good impact in terms of marriages and what is happening with us in the community.
Is this happening in all churches, all denominations?
Yes. It's compulsory. You need that certificate to get married.
Even
you
if
can't get
even
married.
if I'm here and the girl is in some other country, I'm forced to do the course at the local level itself where I'm living.
So it's a very, very sacred bond. Marriage is a very, very sacred bond.
That's a part of the training.
Yes, and there's a little wish. If I had a magic wand, I think every government office, every institution, every working institution, every school, college should have pictures of our families, our children, so that before any law is passed, before any policy is made, before we take any decisions, we look at them.
Yeah.
And then we do it. Because everything has a consequence. And they are the ones who are going to deal with it. Lyric, I was reading your profile and there was a wonderful word there that you're committed to continuous growth.
Yes.
Have you been able to comfort your children with the fact that growth is not linear? So they should not be very hard on themselves. And sometimes let life take its course. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, I have always spoken to, we are coming from humble backgrounds, So today, what we are is based on our hard work, efforts, and the people around us who has brought us together at this level. So we apply, and we always tell our children that do not forget what you have today. I mean, what we have. So we share our experiences with them, and of how we had lived, and how we are today. And they should not take it as granted that things are life is very easy for them. So continuous growth. What I pass on to my children or to anybody who I meet is think of the present and the future. Don't go by what happened in the past. It could be anything. So I always say that continuous growth, you think what you envision yourself to be or what you want to be. It's not necessarily, it could be monetary, it's not necessarily, it could be anything like that. It's not money or anything like that. But it could be a person, it could be a career, it could be some hobby or something, what they want to do. So I always told even my daughter what you would like to do, and she said I would like to do this, and we only gave her advice that this is the way to go. This is good, it's not bad. But I think we told her, don't stop in what you're doing. There's lots for you to do. So she has pursued today what she's doing. So it's all her efforts. But till today, I tell her, don't stop at that level. So I believe you need to keep growing. You cannot stop and say that I'm satisfied with what I have. I have enough, or I don't have enough. So I want to do more. So that's the thing we always apply. We have transferred to my children, and I always tell my wife also.
He always says, don't dwell in the past.
I tell her, don't
dwell in the past. Look at the present and look at the future. Don't look at what happened previously. So
you don't have an option. You have an option.
That's wonderful. Taking it forward, yes, it's time to request Rahul.
Ajay, can I propose a proposition? To take what is the studies or body of knowledge available with Anoop's organization.
Sure.
And study as a sample, as a part of this program. Study as a sample few Anganwadis in India. Okay. I can help them in any way, or Rahul can, or Kerala can help. See, we can have few Anganwadis, and also let's see 2 corporates, 2 Anganwadis random sampling, 2 corporates, and study this kind of, are you aware of this? Basically, are we aware of this? And are the corporates in any way understanding this? Because early childhood is almost like the young mother is at work, and she is at a very vital part of her career. And who is she leaving the child to? Do the corporates? Because paternity leave is little, maternity leave, but up to the age of 8, the leave is not there. The leave is only for before even the child goes to a playway school. That's it. After that, does the playway school network develop those neurons, etc.? How? So can we do a little sample study? I think it'd be fascinating. 2 corporates, 2 Anganwadis, could be from Kerala, and or could be anywhere where the Anganwadi is a scheme. So I think it might be a good follow-up, Ajay, to your book.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely look into it, ma'am. I'll also speak to Anup, and then we'll see what we can do.
The UAE, I think it will be a shocker. Probably it will be a shocker, because whatever he's saying is not the awareness. I remember Aristotle, a parent went to Aristotle and with the mother, and he had a 5-year-old, she had a 5-year-old child, and went to Aristotle that how can I make this child the way somebody like you, or, and he says, how old is your child? He said 5 years old, and he told the mother, ma'am, you're 5 years late. 5 years late. So how many of us really know it? I don't think so. I think I'm looking at even from a criminology point of view at the moment, not only as a parent. You can trace back the cause of crime. Where did it begin? No hugs, no love. When the child is growing up, there's no love. See, no hugs, no care, no feeding, no sitting together, no eating together, no praying together. I mean, so many things. I think let's do a little study. Let's not leave this to this program. I think let's take this program as a catalyst, and which incites this need to understand the UAE sample, this study. Let's see it. Ajay, can you take it forward?
Yeah, ma'am.
Rahul?
Sure.
It can be part of your lithology also. Extension.
Ji. Rahul ji, your thoughts, please. Ji.
Thank you very much. In fact, I was listening to Mr. Anup and to Lyric. Lyric is my good friend, and by the way, I felt like I'm sitting in a masterclass program when Anu was talking. And by the way, I studied psychology, and I was going through all the thinkers and my textbooks again and again. And thank you very much for the mind-boggling session. So I have to. I thought of sharing. I don't want to share anything. Rather, they already shared a lot many things, and I don't want to build up on that. So what I learned is that there is a proverb saying that obtaining good parents may be a matter of fate, whereas nurturing a good child is a result of your action, which is actually true. That's why in these days the word parenting is coming to picture, and we are discussing it in every way. I don't know whether the word parenting was so prominent around 20 years before, or I just heard this term when I was studying for my psychology lessons initially. But now this is very popular, and it's good that we are discussing about it. And Ajay wrote a wonderful book on that. I have read that, and I have 2 questions. One, let me ask this question to Lyric. Lyric, see, you have said that you had so many challenges when it comes to your second child. So how do you address? These days. One of the biggest problems that we're facing in the school is a bullying or peer pressure problems. Like, how do you address issues related to bullying or peer pressure problems with your child?
Yeah, so we had this challenge with him, and it was reported. Actually, he should not come back and say that this kind of incident occurred, because it was suppressed with him. It was quiet with him, and we didn't know such incidents was happening. When we came to know that he was like hesitant and was not very happy to go to school. Actually, as a child, he loved to go to school. He loved to go out. But at certain occasions, we noticed that going to school was a little bit reluctant. He was giving excuses that I don't want to go. It was not so easy that. And then we tried to find out what was the reason. So when he had a special teacher with him. He had a shadow teacher with him in school, so they have regular meetings. So in the meeting, we asked the teacher, please look into it. I mean, is there any issue that is happening with him? And then it was observed that yes, there were few students who were trying to kind of, you can call it bullying, who were trying to keep him aside and like maybe tease him and not get so it was it happened. So how did we address it? I mean, we had to speak to him, tell him that anything that's such a thing happens, you need to react. at the same moment. You need to report what's happening. Do not fear, because this was we were explaining to him that this is temporary, and if you show fear and if you show don't report and you don't react, I think they will take advantage of you. So that was explained to him very, very clearly. And we told and it happened not only in school. I mean, it happened within our relatives also. When we used to meet together or socialize. So we told him very clearly, if somebody tries to bully you, you need to, even if it's physical, you need to respond physically also. If somebody tells you something, you need to respond it. You need to get the courage, and you don't have to worry. So that courage and that emotional strength, we told him that you don't have to bear all these things. We are here for you. People are there to support you. You will find people like this across in your life, because we didn't tell him there are challenges. But I think that message that we gave him had changed, and we came to know that from the school and from our relatives that he was really challenging those bullies, with them, and they really stopped bullying. And he said, if you don't do it, I'll report it. I will come back to your parents. I'll tell the teacher. So this kind of messages and encouragement that do not lay low, fight for it, and it really helped him, and it really changed a lot for us.
And also we also explained to him and told him that what this bullying is not your fault, because sometimes he used to think that something is happening to him, it's his fault, but actually what the bullying thing that happens to him, it's not his fault. So, and we told him that you need to stand up for yourself, because we are not going to be there always with him. So he needs to stand up and at least report what is happening, so we can in a subtle way handle it.
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes, sir. Ji, sir.
One of the most fantastic programs, Ajay, you made possible.
Yeah.
Thanks to having Anoop and the parents. Wonderful.
Sure. I think we discussed a lot of complicated things. I think Anoop is not just a data scientist; he's also a psychologist. Let me conclude with a rhyme. Time flies by waiting for no one. You can do wonders if you plan, and you can succeed if you know the role of support and the need for vision.
Yeah.
As children grow and develop their own beliefs and aspirations, the role of parents undergoes a profound transformation. Recognizing and nurturing this evolving parental role is crucial, as it is influenced by the changing times and society at large. To effectively support their children, parents must adapt to these changes and stay ahead, as their children are the future. The key lies in envisioning their children's future, guiding rather than imposing personal aspirations, and providing unwavering support through the journey of achieving their goals. Thank you, Anoop, Lyric, Patricia, ma'am, Sainaji, and Rahul for sharing your valuable insights during this session on mindful parenting. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank
you so much. Fantastic.
Mummy,
it's been really mind-boggling.
Yes,
it's been a wonderful program, and I would urge that we all share this program as widely as possible, widely, and so that it's when it's already impacted us, it will impact many, many millions of others. Let's share it as widely. Nephrology does that. Ajay does it. Demonstrative learning, we do it through our own channels. I think it will do maximum good to people. It at least drive home some awakening and awareness.
Sorry, ma'am, I think nearly 1,000 people are watching.
Maybe more. I didn't go on watching. But I think we need to drive home this sharing, because when you do it on YouTube, it has a shelf life. The program stays on, but maybe we could create some reels out of it, and some reels of what Anoop has said and others. I think we need to share this. So it's a good challenge for nephrology and demonstrative learning to see whatever has been gained today multiplies.
Ji, thank you.
Thank you.
My immense gratitude to all of you and to all the parents and the children watching. I think just make sure your child is extremely sure of your love for him and her. Just make sure that your child is sure my mother loves me, my father loves me, and they will stand by me. Just do that. Thank you. We see you next month.
Thank you once again. Thank you, Anoop. You are truly rightly in the chair. You are rightly in the chair.
No. Thank you very much, Dr. Bedi. Thank you, Ajay, and thank you all.
Thank you, Jay Harima, to all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Grateful.
Patricia. And thank you, Ram.
A lot of gratitude to Abu Dhabi. Thank you.